Feral tanks aren't all the rave at the moment. With fur rather than a shield and claws rather than a sword, they seem to love taking spikes of damage. But can these stupidly stamina stacking balls of fur compete? Their massive health pools scream yes, but we'll see. We'll see. Bear tanks are definitely my favourite tank to play at the moment, and to be honest, they're probably the most versatile out of all of the tanks as well. This is mainly because we can just switch between Bear and Kitty whenever we feel like it. For example, on Madness of Deathwing, we can go and tank the Tentacle, we can then go tank all the Bloods, and then when Deathwing's casting Cataclysm and there's nothing else to tank, we can switch onto the Armor Wing and burn it down in cat form. I mean, like, really? A tank on 3rd place DPS? So the first thing to note about tanking is where you're standing. Positioning is key as a tank, in fact it's probably more important than anybody else. This is because you got to be moving into those healing circles when possible to help you keep topped up that extra bit. You know, you got to help out the healers. You've also got to be moving out of anything that could do you any extra damage that you don't need to otherwise take. And on top of this, you've always got to make sure that whatever is attacking you is in front of you. This is because as a bear, we stack dodge. If anything's behind you, you can't dodge it, meaning you're losing all of that dodge that you've spent all of your agility and dodge rating on. Now, after stacking dodge, you should probably be looking about 37 to 40%-ish when you're reasonably geared. So having anything standing behind you, it's going to be doing about an extra 40% damage to you. Not good. Now sometimes bear tanks do lack the ability to hold aggro AoE. This is because we don't really have anything like Consecration or Death and Decay. Instead we have to be very active about which spells we're pressing while we're AoE tanking. The main ones include Swipe, Thrash and Maul, assuming you have Maul glyphed, which you should. Also, what I tend to do when AoE tanking is just tab between the mobs, and if there's any that I can see I am lower on threat on, I will stay on that mob for a bit to gain some more aggro. As you can see here, I'm constantly tabbing between these 3 mobs, and because of that, I'm getting that extra bit of white damage going out, meaning I'm definitely holding aggro. Now, before you even think about trying to tank as a bear, there's one thing you need to be really careful about: spike damage. Now, if you've ever healed or you've seen a tank drop, if you thought Death Knights were bad, think again. Druids have a high percentage chance to dodge at about 40%, whereas classes such as Warriors and Paladins, if they don't dodge or parry, they block, which reduces their damage taken. If Druids don't absorb and they don't dodge, which are both chances to do, let's remember, then you take the full, well, you get whacked. You get fucking nuked. And no, by the way, that clip wasn't sped up. That's what happens if you do not dodge and you do not absorb Hagara's Blade Flurry shit. So obviously, because we take a lot of spike damage, we have pretty strong cooldowns to compensate for this. Our first cooldown is Bart Skin. This provides a base 20% damage reduction, and if you have a glyph, which I do recommend, it also provides a 25% chance critical reduction against you. This is a nice cooldown, to be honest, just to keep rolling whenever. Another cooldown is Frenzied Regeneration. I prefer to leave this unglyphed because it provides an awful lot of healing, about 9k every 1 to 2 seconds, which is really nice, and it helps out with the healing an awful lot. This also increases your maximum health by 30%, and as well, if you have the full set, it can be more powerful than a Tranquility. So as a feral tank, you can even pop your Frenzied Regeneration to get the whole raid group up. Our third and final damage reduction cooldown is called Survival Instincts. This is a 50% damage reduction on a 3-minute cooldown. So this is great to use through the phases where you're being absolutely battered, because as long as this is up, to be honest, unless the healers are really bad, you are not gonna die. Now the thing is, with big cooldowns like this, you've got to make sure you're saving them for the places where you may need them, but at the same time don't save them too much, because if you save them too much, you'll find that you're just not using your cooldowns, and then you're taking damage that you don't really need to be taking. One thing to note about frenzied regen though is while it's up you can often get rage starve, so this will probably be a good time to pop your enrage. Some other things to keep in mind when bear tanking is if you do lose aggro AoE, you'd always have your challenging roar. This is a mass AoE taunt on a 3-minute cooldown, and it lasts for 6 seconds, so none of the mobs will go off you for another 6 seconds. There's one more damage reduction thing to keep in mind. This is called demoralizing roar. It costs you 10 rage, and it reduces the physical damage done by all enemies by 10% for 30 seconds. This has about a 10-yard range. This is just something you ought to always be keeping up on your target, and if it does get taken off before the duration expires, it simply means that another class has put it on instead. That's all I've got for you today guys in my first part of feral bear tanking. I'll be releasing another part soon with more in-depth to stat priorities and rotations etc. So stay tuned, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe guys. Thanks for watching.